Hello, this is Jason from Liberate Raleigh, and this is the 9th video in the Foundations of Anarchism series. In this video, I'm going to go over a few definitions for the term monopoly. This is very important when we get to the last video where I'll be discussing the state and anarchy. So, monopoly. I'm going to go over 3 definitions. 2 of the definitions will turn out to be either arbitrary or benign and meaningless in a sense, and then the third one we'll see is actually a meaningful definition. First definition is the one that most people think of when they think of monopoly, and that is a single seller of something. However, this definition isn't very meaningful for the following reason. It defines everybody as a monopolist. If you think about this, every person is the single, exclusive seller of their labor. Therefore, everybody is a monopolist. There are other problems here. There are things such as location monopolies, where a good in a certain location is distinguishable from another location, and because that is the only good at that location, then that is a monopoly. That's the only good of its kind at that location. When defining goods, they're defined by the subjective preferences that people that are satisfied by people that use those goods. So the location of something is very important for the preferences that are satisfied by the good. Also, when you think of things such as brands, like a brand of a car such as Chevy or Ford, those companies have exclusive rights to sell a Ford motor vehicle, which is distinguishable as a good from a Chevy vehicle. This is true for pretty much any good out there. So that, combined with the fact that everybody is a monopolist over their labor, means that it's not very meaningful for someone to say, well, they're a monopolist because they're the only ones that sell whatever it is, or whatever good it is that you're referring to, or whatever service they are providing. It really doesn't mean much of anything. So this type of monopoly is pretty much benign and meaningless. The second kind, the second definition is sort of an economics definition, where they talk about market power. Some company or firm or producer that reaches a certain level of market power is therefore a monopolist. The problem here is that market power is a subjective and not is a subjectively defined in pretty much all cases, and even if you could quantify it, whatever quantity you decide distinguishes a monopolist is pretty much arbitrary. Any number you choose has no rational basis. If you look at something like the market share that a firm has, is it 100%? Well, if it's 100%, we've already shown that a single seller of something is meaningless. If it's anything less than that, what number do you choose? 90%, 80%, 70%? Any percentage you choose has no meaning. So it is with any other way that you define market power. The degree of market power has no rational basis. You can choose any degree, and it can be just as meaningful as any other degree. So this definition is arbitrary and not very rational. Which leads us to the third and final definition that I want to discuss. Most people would think of this definition as a grant of monopoly privilege by the government. But I want to take it down a level further. I'm going to talk about the way that the government grants this privilege. This is done by preventing people from entering the market freely. So for example, let's say that the government decided they were going to grant monopoly privilege to General Motors. What this would mean is that they would be the only people that would be allowed to build automobiles. And the way that the government would do this is they would use violence to prevent anybody else from entering the market and competing with them. And it doesn't matter that technically they may not have an identical good as General Motors. The relevant point here is that force and violence is being used to prevent people from entering the market. So when this happens, monopoly privilege is given to those participants already in the market providing a certain service. And this is reasonably defined because we can identify when force is used objectively. So this definition passes muster for being not benign. It's actually quite malignant, the way that the government does this, and not being arbitrary, because we can tell when the initiation of force is being used in order to prevent people from entering the market. As I said earlier, this is important when I go over the definition of what a state is. So this is the 9th video in the Foundations of Anarchism series, and I will see you in the 10th and final video.